So I was grinding because I didn't want to disappoint Dr. Daniels. But once you grind so long and you kind of I left that nest of FAMU, that cradle and that protection. When I went off to the University of Wisconsin and the University of Connecticut to get my PhD, I've already established this discipline and commitment to education that it wasn't about Daniels anymore. It was a part of me. And that's the important part.
All right, so boom, welcome back to another episode of the Black Caliber Podcast. I'm here with
Dr. Michael Casson.
All right. And he's here to tell us a little bit about the Delaware School of Business. Right?
College of Business.
College of Business.
College of Business. College of Business.
And even just some of his ventures. So let's start off. So what do you, as the dean, right?
The dean, absolutely.
Right, so what is your job?
What is my job? Well, my job is to drive business education for not just the students that come to Delaware State University, but also leverage the talent and resources that we got at the college and actually the greater university as well for economic and business development throughout our communities. So again, I don't see it as a singular position. I see it as an opportunity for us to truly make a change in our community and the lives of students and empower those students to also go back and be change agents in their own respective communities.
So when you say drive change in the community, do you mean the people you're teaching going out and changing the community, or you have specific events that would?
So it's both, because I'm looking to individuals like yourself that are future leaders. And so if you're the future leader, you're the future change agent, then it's our job to pour into you all the knowledge and resources that we have to ensure the success of not just you, but also the communities that you serve and the greater global community as well.
Oh, okay. Right. So what got you interested in this field?
Well, my field is actually economics. So you asked me what my field was.
Yeah,
so
what you majored
in? Yeah. So my doctor is in economics, and I actually started out at Florida A&M University. So go Rattlers, all my Rattlers out there. And interestingly enough, when I went to FAMU, I was undeclared. So I hadn't declared a major. And it wasn't until, I know, right? So it wasn't until I actually was in the Principles of Economics course, and I wasn't doing so well, actually. And you know how most students do back in the day. You might be still doing it now, I hope not. You get to the end of the semester, you realize you may not make it through this class. So you go to your professor and you say, what I got to do to pass this class?
That was me in high
school.
You been there? Every time in high school. Crazy part of that, a 4.0.
That's what I'm saying. It happens. You right? Yeah. That might be enabling you a little bit more if you got a 4.0. You think you're good. So I thought I was good too until I realized at the end of the semester, I may not make it through this class. So I went to my professor and was like, what I got to do to pass this Principles Economics class? Again, I'm undeclared, undecided. This is part of my gen ed. And his name is Dr. Daniels. He looked at me and said, you got to get an A on my final to pass my class. And so something in my heart, like you, I knew I can do it. So I said, all right, bet. I went back, studied, took the exam, and I went and knocked on his door. It's like, Dr. Daniels, I'm here to see whether or not I passed the class. And he said, Michael, come in and have a seat. And I'm like, oh man, this not sounding too good. So he sat me down and he commenced to giving me the wasted talent speech. I'm sitting there wondering what's going on. So after the wasted talent speech, he asked me, he said, so what's your major? I said, I don't have a major, general studies right now. He said, what do you like? Now keep in mind, this man is holding my grade in his hand. So what do you think I said? Economics. So I said economics. And from that moment, I said, Michael, you got an A on my final and you passed the class. And he said, I'm gonna sign you up to be an econ major. And he literally, back then, it wasn't all the computer stuff. Back then, he pulled the paper out, filled out the paperwork for a change of major, walked it over to the chair, which was right up the hallway. And the rest is history. That's his history.
That's a dope story.
It's a story, right?
Yeah, see,
it's a true story.
I was just making bets. I'd be like, look, if I pass this,
right,
you're going to forget this grade. You're not going to pass it. Watch me.
I often tell people, I often say, listen, if Dr. Daniels was a chemist, I would have been a chemist right now. But that's the power of, one, HBCUs. That's the power of mentorship, right? Because it got to a point where he was such an incredible mentor to me, plotting that pathway to a PhD in economics, that when we first started, I just didn't want to disappoint Dr. Daniels. So I was grinding because I didn't want to disappoint Dr. Daniels. But once you grind so long and you kind of leave that, I left that nest of FAMU, that cradle and that protection. When I went off to the University of Wisconsin and the University of Connecticut to get my PhD, I've already established this discipline and commitment to education that it wasn't about Daniels anymore. It was a part of me. And that's the important part.
Okay, that's actually, that's dope. He was like,
right.
like, you had a real, like, story.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before that, so in high school and all that, like where you grew up, were you like would you say were you a good student?
I was an average student. I was one of those students, again, much like Dr. Daniels, where I would often get the wasted talent speech, right? But I was an athlete in school. So I grew up in Dover, Delaware.
Oh, what'd you play? Okay.
I was basketball. I know I put on a few more weights. I'm like, could have been football. I was basketball and baseball. I think I might have had a few opportunities in football, but I don't think I wanted to get hit that much. But yeah, but at the end of the day, again, I was average, doing what I needed to do to get by. And honestly, I was excelling, at least for Delaware. I was excelling in basketball and baseball and was an all-state basketball player. And so for me, that's why I ended up at FAMU as an undeclared, because I had a neighbor who went to FAMU. Actually, she was my babysitter at the time, and she went to FAMU. She was on television. I was like, I want to go to FAM. And I actually sent down my video. My coach sent down some of my tape for basketball. And they was like, thanks, but no thanks. You ain't that good. So I said, oh, man. I still wanted to go. So I still was like, bless you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
So I still had it in my mind that I was going to go to FAMU, and that's what I did. In fact, another funny story is that, it's interesting how, you talk about the community that you grew up with. So I grew up in one of the most distressed communities in Dover, in Delaware, right? So it was a challenge. It was a real challenging community, low income, poverty, right? And so, again, I was known for basketball growing up. That's what people knew me for. And so when I went away to college, when I went to FAMU, when I would come back home, as you know, you're a college student, you Baltimore, you come back home for your spring break, you see all your homies, most of them still on the block, unfortunately, not taking advantage of their immense talents in so many different fields. So I would come home and they'd be like, yo, Cass, where you been at? I ain't seen you in a minute. I was like, nah, man, I'm down at FAMU now. They were like, oh, you balling for FAMU? Like, nah, I'm not balling. I'm actually studying economics. All right, let's go kick it. Right?
I ain't trying.
Right? But check it out, though. So the crazy thing about it, again, I love our communities, man, but I think sometimes we put too much stock and value in the entertainment and sports industries, right? So then, fast forward, I graduate from FAMU, my economics degree, as I was telling you. I move on to the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and again, come home for spring break, see my same homies on the corner, even some of the older heads now that knew me from basketball. Cass, where you been at? I haven't seen you in forever. I said, yo, I'm up at the University of Wisconsin. You balling for University of Wisconsin? Like, nah, man, I'm working on my economics graduate degree. All right, man, let's go. Where we going tonight? Let's kick it, right? Same thing happened. I finished my master's at Wisconsin. Now I'm at UConn to get my PhD, right? Same thing. Now I'm like 27 years old, 26, 27 years old. I'm at UConn, get my PhD. Christmas break rolls around. I'll come home. Same question. Cass, I ain't seen you in a minute. Where you been at? Yeah, I'm up at UConn. Yo, you balling for UConn? Like, dog, I was never that good. You know I was never that good. And plus I'm like, I'm 26 years old.
They're not even thinking like college was an option.
Like, yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm 26 now. I'm in PhD program and at UConn. And the funny thing about it is how life is full circle. Is that while I was at UConn, I was also a teacher's assistant. So I used to teach classes to undergrads in economics. But the ironic thing was that I end up being the math tutor to the men's basketball team. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you see how, we got to talk to our young men and our young women about all of their talents and provide resources and energy and fuel for them to pursue all the possibilities that they have in life.
And I can relate to that because I remember, I think I told this story. It was like, I never saw myself going to school for anything but track. Because I run track. So I always, people like, you want to go to the Olympics? Nah, I want to get to college.
Right.
College, like I always knew I wanted to get to college.
Exactly.
But in high school, it was like, I ended up with a 4.0, mainly because of COVID. But before that,
what's up, though? Congratulations on that too. Yeah.
It would just be like, I'd be in class, and I was never bad, but I was the type of person where it's like, if my friends got bad grades, I'm telling them I got bad grades, even though I got the A. But I'm gonna tell you I got a B or a C.
Man, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it would be like, I didn't even want my parents, I never let my mom see me do homework. Like, I don't know why. It was just funny stuff like that. Like it was certain stuff, it was like, I can't let you see this.
Yeah, but that's part of the culture that's real, and that we got to break that, right? Yeah. Because again, if you was putting up 25 points and 15 rebounds, you'd be telling everybody, right? But now you putting up A's, right? You got to let the world know that I'm putting up A's. You could put up A's too, but again, we don't fuel that in our communities. We got to fuel more of that in our communities, man. We gotta have the National Signing Day. In the College of Business, Del State, we got to have our National Signing Day. So when we bring somebody like yourself in, that's a star business performer, like a business student that's performing, and you're a 4.0 student, and I get you to commit to the College of Business at Delaware State University. I want you to put that hat on and go back on and be like, yeah, exactly, because that's what it's about, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about it from that perspective, there's more money outside the line than there is inside the line. Yeah, any athlete will tell you that.
I remember first time I'm applying to schools, and I applied through Common App, and I was an Avid, so they paid for all my things. So I applied to like 30 schools, and I got accepted into to 29.
Oh, that's what's up.
And I got a scholarship to 20.
Wow.
And I remember getting my first scholarship, and I looked at my mom, I said, I never thought I had this.
Yo.
I always thought track, I got the least money from track. The thing I worked my whole life.
You see that?
But school, when I'm sitting there, I was doing anything in school. Because I would literally be like, yo, if I pass this, like I remember my teacher put me in 4 AP classes. Because he said, if you in anything else, you're just gonna get on our nerves.
You was inquisitive, man. Yeah. You was in front of the curve.
Yeah, and
I love it.
I have a personality where people think I'm being sarcastic a lot, and I actually don't even mean to come off.
Yeah. I feel you.
So yeah, I bump heads with a lot.
I love it.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, so it was just dope. So it's like hearing that story is like, yeah, like I can relate. I can really relate to that. And it wasn't even until last year, because that was my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. I decided everything I want to do, I actually want to put my 100% into. And since then, I feel like my life, I went from I was always kind of like this, but I just started going. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, your talent is immense.
I was like, wow. And I still don't feel like I'm trying now.
Talent is immense, man. I had an opportunity when I first started at Del State. I started as a professor of economics, but that was a chance for me to actually come back home because I was from Dover. Delaware State University's in Dover. So I was like, it's perfect, right? I get to come back to my hometown and kind of pour into the community as well as the students that's coming to Delaware State University. And during that same period, we have what's called a blue and gold basketball all-star game. And that's for our high schoolers, right? So it's the North All-Stars against the Southern State All-Stars. And so since Dover is part of the Southern State All-Stars, that's what I played in when I was playing ball in high school. So when I came back and the people found out I was back at Del State, some of the old coaches that was coaching the All-Star team. They said, listen, can you come out to our practices, to the All-Star practices for the South team, kind of talk to the young men about, basketball, but life and the next opportunities. And so, when I went in and talked to these young men, I did it probably every year for about 4 or 5 years. I went on and talked to them. But I would start with talking to them about just their talent doesn't stop inside the lines. Like that same talent that you have on the court, you also have in the classroom as well. I mean, your gifts do not stop with your free throws or your jumper or your layup, right? Your intellect is also there, and it's also something that needs to be exercised as well. You got mental calisthenics that need to happen to ensure. And so it's funny, I would ask them, and this is the other interesting thing, again, because we don't celebrate this side of it as a community. I would ask them, tell me what person in the NBA, who has the highest contract in the NBA? So, at the time, this is 15 years ago, so it might have been Kobe or somebody like that doing 20 million a year or something like that. And I told him, give me like the top 10. I think it was Kobe. I think we looked it up. Kobe was up at the top somewhere. And then down at the bottom somewhere, it was like, 4 or 5 million. And I said, can you give me the same top 10 investment banker salaries? Right? It was like investment banker. So one, I had to kind of explain what an investment banker was. And I said, anybody want to take a guess what the number one salary is? And so they're jumping all around, 300,000. One young brother said 3 million. I said, well, you got the 3 right. So there's actually 3 billion. They made 3 billion last year. I said, number 10 on that list made $757 million in that year, right? I said, so who wants to be like Mike? You know what I mean? Why you want to be like Mike? You got to ask yourself, again, the opportunities outside the lines, the opportunities to leverage the incredible intellect that our young men and women have is there. But again, we have to fuel it. We have to push that, and not celebrate. Like you said, you wouldn't tell them you got straight A's.
Yeah, I was folding.
Right.
Like, I would lose. I wouldn't even show my mom I got straight A's. Like, it was just like, no.
But again,
because it's like, it's intimidating to a degree. You feel like I feel like if I had straight A's, I had to be smart.
Yeah,
and it's like, even though that's proof I'm smart, but it's like, I feel like I have to be like,
well,
I can't be.
So that comes with a responsibility, right?
Like, I can't be me. I can't be acting like this with this.
But you saying you showing people that you running people out the gym, that's okay.
Yeah, literally.
Right? And that comes with its own responsibility too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the coaches expect you to show up on time, expect you to be a leader, expect you to practice. Nothing wrong with taking on those same responsibilities on the academic side, because the fruits are as great, if not greater.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you plan to do moving forward? Actually.
Back up. Rewind this.
So have you? It's a fire alarm. That's crazy. Well, I mean.